Good evening, everybody. Sorry we're a little late. Madam Clerk, we have to go right to the city manager. Do we want to close the?
You can wait until the vote.
All right, so we'll go right to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say, just before we get started, as usual, we conducted our 5:30 p.m. closed session. During the course of that closed session, we discussed two matters of ongoing litigation involving former Chief Zisa and the case involving the Luna Diaz incident. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, first up is going to be discussion regarding the 2021 audit corrective action plan. So I will call up our CFO, James Manning.
Thanks, Vinny. Yeah, at the business portion of the meeting tonight, there'll be a resolution on to accept the corrective action plan for the 2021 audit. So if I could just explain what that is for a minute. First, it's important to understand this is the 2021 audit, okay? We received this at the beginning of April, and we have 60 days to get a corrective action plan submitted. Okay, that'll be done later on. The 2021 audit had 4 recommendations, and I'm gonna just review them quickly right now. First was a repeat recommendation that balances in dormant developers escrow. Escrows be canceled by resolution and remitted to the current fund. This has been a recommendation pretty much every audit that we've had regarding a cleanup of our old developers escrow accounts. What's required is accounts have to be reconciled to the bank statement, and then they need to be disposed of. There's roughly about 841 of these accounts, and it's been an ongoing project for a few years. The auditor did note under the findings that significant progress was noted, okay, but the recommendation stands. Okay. Second finding was that the fixed asset ledger be updated and that the Edmunds General Fixed Asset Module be utilized in conjunction with purchase order processing. What that means is that we're required to do a physical inventory of all of our fixed assets and report on that. The last physical inventory that we did was in 2019. We were scheduled to have one in 2020. We canceled it because of COVID around inventory. Likewise, it was canceled in 2021. It is going to be happening early this year, but remember, this is the 2021 audit. Okay, so that one will be corrected by June 30th of this year. Okay. Third finding was that interest collected at tax sales being erroneously credited to delinquent taxes instead of interest and costs on taxes. This was an issue that came up that the auditor uncovered when we were doing our reconciliation of my balances to his balances. Long story short, there was an interest payment of $1,194 that was incorrectly posted because it was set up incorrectly in the Edmunds module. It pointed to the wrong account. It was a simple fix. Personally, didn't rise to the level of an audit recommendation, but I'm not the auditor. Okay. Finally, the last one is overtime was paid to exempt employees under the Federal Labor Standards Act. This was a problem a few years ago that was addressed by Ted Ehrenberg at the time. Again, remember, this is the 2021 audit. Following Ted's passing, some of the rules fell by the wayside. Once Vinny came on as the city manager, he took a number of steps. All exempt employees, myself for example, received notices explaining we're exempt. Exempt from what? You're exempt from overtime. There is no overtime. We all received those notices. Okay? That condition did exist in 2021, but it has since been corrected. Okay, those are the 4 audit recommendations. You all have copies of the audit, and it'll be posted on the city website. And anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
No, thank you. Good job. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you much.
You want to stay there?
Yeah.
Next, Jim is going to speak on the sick and vacation leave policy corrective action plan.
Okay, likewise, at the business meeting tonight, there is a resolution to accept the corrective action plan in response to the state controller's report on sick and vacation leave. Let me just give you a quick background on it. In early 2021, the Office of the State Controller put out a scathing report on the borough of Palisades Park. A number of wrongdoings were going on there, and quite a few, and it was a comprehensive report. Following that report, what the state office, and many of the violations in Palisades Park had to do with illegal payments for unused sick and vacation time. Following that report, the state controller's office sent a survey out to 60 municipalities asking about policies and procedures. Hackensack was one of those 60 municipalities. I did the survey. And they put out a report in the summer of, I think it was summer of 22 now, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, summer of 22. Okay. In that report, they did note the deficiencies in our sick and vacation leave policies and procedures. We drew up a corrective action plan last September. We submitted it to the state controller. We did the items in it. Just so you know, what we were doing wrong was in 2014, we passed an ordinance that capped unused sick and vacation time at $15,000 for any employee hired after the date of the ordinance in 2014.
With sick and vacation, not just...
No, I'm sorry, sick. Yeah, not vacation. We passed that ordinance in 2014. There was actually a 2010 statute in place at the time that said it applies to employees hired after 2010, not 2014. We fixed that ordinance last October, okay? It's part of our books. And just so you know, when this report came out, I had done an audit of all of the unused sick payments that we made, and there was nobody who fell in that window between 2010 and 2014. If you think about it, it's kind of unlikely that somebody gets hired after 2010 and is retiring, less than 10 years later. So that was one of the things that we corrected in the corrective action plan. And we had a couple labor contracts that also had the wrong date, had the 2014 date instead of the 2010 date. Okay, we're in the process of, we've already corrected, I think, 2 of the labor contracts. We're in negotiations now, we're correcting the rest. So we sent that corrective action plan to the state back in September, and we just heard back from them about a month ago. And now what they're asking for us to do is 2 things, is to conduct an audit of all the payments made, which I've already done, and they want the corrective action plan accepted by the governing body. Okay? So at the business portion of tonight's meeting, you'll be accepting the corrective action plan, which includes the items that I just mentioned, also includes the audit that's going to be done by the city auditor and myself, and the fact that this resolution signifies acceptance by the governing body. Okay. In terms of vacation, just so you know, even though it's in here, we were found that all of our vacation policies were following state statute. Okay. Anybody has any questions on that? Okay. Thanks.
Sir?
Thank you, Jim. Number 3, just a discussion regarding Atlantic Street Park and the Stuart Johnson bronze statue that we're going to have on display there. I don't know, Al, do you have anything that you want to add that?
Thank you, Vinny. Mayor, Council, you've had a chance to look at the materials that were in your packet. I'm happy to provide just some additional background, but just for I guess the public's information, I think Frank had pulled up an image of where we would like to have this statue placed. It's a temporary statue. It was designed and created by Seward Johnson, who's actually a descendant of Robert Wood Johnson, founder of Johnson & Johnson. If you've ever been up to the medical center, you may have seen one of his sculptures there. It's a man falling asleep in a chair with a book. He's a well-known artist. The display would be, and Frank, I think in that same email there's a picture of the statute itself, if you can pull that up, while he's trying to find that. The display would be there for June, July, August, probably come down at the end of September. The Alliance would pick up the cost for it, and it depicts, and if we can find it, if not, we'll put it up on the website or something. It's a woman laying on her back with a towel over her head, or her eyes. It's called Catching Some Peace, and there's a bicycle next to her. And it's fitting for that space and for that time of year. And so we'd like to try to develop a relationship with the Seward Johnson Foundation. This actually comes with the recommendation of David Sanzari, who had mentioned that he's doing a tribute to his parents, and he's he's commissioned the same organization to put together the statue. So here it is. I just got it up here now.
How high it is?
It's low. I mean, it sits on a steel I-beam. So, but it's life size. All of the works at Seward Johnson is life size. So if you were to walk past it, you would mistake that for a woman actually laying on the ground. No, it won't actually. Just to be clear, it won't necessarily be in the same area where we have the outdoor amphitheater. It's in front of that. So if you see the amphitheater is behind Councilman, it's in front of it. Not inside, no.
Is that between the circle, between the
It's in the triangle.
tree and the tree in the back? It's right there. Where the cursor-
And we're working with DPW to make sure that when we, dig this small trench to put it in, we're not hitting any electrical wires or any sprinkler lines that may be there. But this is a product of the,
Yeah.
Yeah, to the other side of the wall.
Here. No. One second.
sure,
Well, it's not that high anyway, but in this area here, right? This is the hard part, right? In this area here, that's where you want to put the stuff, right here in the middle?
yes, right,
So when they got concerts,
No.
no,
The
not
concert's
concert, it's
over
only,
there.
if somebody play music here, remember that we used to bring the guy?
No, the concerts are.
I think he's talking about if we do like the Oktoberfest. This will be gone by the time the Oktoberfest
So,
comes.
but they say it's only 2 feet, so they don't really mean nobody.
No, it won't be obstructing it, if that's the question. And
Yeah,
it,
the
Friday
concerts.
concerts.
Friday concerts.
Oh,
on
the-
other side, on that wall. See the wood between the trees?
it's,
Oh, okay, so this is at the front,
Yes,
that the
yeah,
people,
that's the front,
okay,
yeah.
great. So the people use that area here when they want to walk to the Atlantic River.
Yes.
Okay, fine, I have no problem with it.
okay, I just have to mention, this is a product and a production of the Hackensack Creative Art Team, which is essentially at this point a subcommittee of the Main Street Business Alliance. So they're covering the budget, and we're trying to cut our teeth on a hard street art installation. We haven't done one yet, and so this is hopefully the first of many, and maybe we can rotate these out over time. If there are any questions about this, I'm happy to try to answer.
No, really, no, I
Okay.
don't have any question.
We will work with the manager's office to make sure that we're covered in terms of, any liability issues with our carrier and with the Alliance's insurance as well, and work to get this done. Well, if nothing else, maybe this will just fool somebody and think, oh, maybe I should be careful about it.
Yeah, you would think.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Our city engineer, Chris Wheaton, and our project engineer, Ryan Wester, are both, one's at a conference and Ryan is at a training class this evening. So we're gonna forego the stormwater and parks update. However, I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Canestrino regarding a Teterboro Airport flight path update.
Thanks, Vinnie. Yes, I attended the quarterly planning meeting a week or so ago. And as usual, I'd like to just give a little overview of what I, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you? Now? No?
Annette, can you hear?
Can you hear me now? No? Can you, Morty?
Is it on?
Is there no sound?
Yeah, it's on.
It's on.
Yeah, we hear.
You can
What
hear?
about you, Vic?
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Reading it
I'm
loud
trying
and
to talk
clear.
louder, but I think it's on. Okay. Okay, so it was a couple of weeks ago, so as usual, I like to try and give an overview of what was discussed at the meeting. The Teterboro folks are really trying very hard to get this bike path more utilized. Unfortunately, we're just seeing the same numbers as we've been seeing, which at least is consistent. At nighttime, they're using it about 30% of the time. You know, of course, during the day, they're not using it really at all. So our goal is to get them to use it during the daytime as well. And if they can use it 30% at night, why can't they use it 30% in the day? And everybody's pointing their fingers, and I'll give you a little more information about that in a moment. One of the other new things that Teterboro is doing, which I think is a good thing, is there's something called Flight Safety International, which is a company that gives classes to both pilots and involves the companies that they work for. And they're sharing our information now with all the students that take the classes. They're collaborating with the FAA on it. And again, they're helping us to promote it and get the word out of, you know, how safe this is and what a good thing it would be to be using it. So initiative after initiative, the key is Teterboro is trying to do what we've been asking them to do, which is we have to deal with the companies that are utilizing the airport and get the word to them that how important this is. And it seems like Teterboro is really trying. In this last quarter, we had, which is the first quarter of the year, we had 8,396 arrivals coming into Teterboro Airport, and the majority of those, I think 90% at least, were using the flight path during the day that flies directly over Prospect Ave and our Hiller School, etc. The monitors, pretty much the same. When you look at the noise monitors, of course, Hackensack noise is still the worst of all the neighboring communities. Rutherford is making a big play where Hackensack has all of the arrivals, or the majority of the arrivals. The Rutherford area has the majority of the departures. So now that we have an alternate flight path, they're pushing that they would like something too. So we're trying to support them in their initiative as well. They have some new noise monitors, but their noise isn't great either, but ours is still by far the worst. We have the most issues as far as noise goes. So everyone that knows me knows I don't give up easily, so I always try to come to these meetings with new things to talk about. And I've actually made a lot of friends in some of the neighboring communities that like to call me and share information with me and maybe don't want to speak at the meetings, but figure if they share things with me, I will. So I can't really take credit for a lot of the points I talked about because I actually was pointed in the right direction by a number of these folks. But a lot of people up and down northern Bergen County are seeing issues, a lot of issues with noise as well. One of the interesting things that came about at the meeting, or prior to the meeting that I brought up, was one of the biggest issues I've had with the airport is their lack of willingness, so to speak, to limit the volume, right? We're saying, okay, the volume is the biggest issue. When you look over the years, the volume of jet traffic has increased dynamically. And they're saying, it's a public airport, there's no way they could do this. Well, someone steered me in the right direction through some research that there's actually something called slot controls that are in place at JFK and LaGuardia, Newark Airport. And what this does is essentially limits the volume. It says how many combination of incoming and outgoing flights can take place in an hour. And I look at Newark because it's the closest to us, and Newark has slot controls in place of 79. So that's saying based on the ability they have to manage flights, they should not have more than 79 flights in an hour that are coming and going. So then, of course, I got curious and I had them collect the data for me as to how many are coming and going into Teterboro in an hour. And of course, on the average, we're nowhere near the size of Newark Airport. But the interesting point that I brought up at the meeting is, if I look at the maximum number that happened in the first quarter, there is a day and time where in Little Teterboro, we hit 78 in an hour. Now, to me, that should have a little shock value to the folks that are saying, hey, 79 is all you're allowing in Newark, and here we have a period of time where we had 78 in Little Teterboro with no control. Well, their answer to me is, yes, but in Newark it's 79 every hour. Maybe that happens for they try and wiggle out of all of these. But I think this is a topic that I'm going to closely try and stay on top of with them, because I think it is important. It's important that if other airports are able to control the volume, why can't we? So that was one of the points that I don't think they were too happy to hear about. One of the other things that I talked to them about was aircraft size. I don't know if you folks have noticed it, but it flies right over the back of my house. So if I'm out on my deck, these planes, okay, they're limited to 100,000 pounds. That's what Teterboro Airport says. You cannot land here or take off from here unless you're under 100,000 pounds. And the aircrafts today are, let me tell you, they're right under 100,000 pounds. They're pretty darn close, because they know that's a limitation in other small airports. So I said, all right, maybe they're still under 100,000 pounds, but from what I'm seeing, these jets are larger in surface area. Their footprint is way larger than I remember ever seeing before flying over. And to me, that's just, the noise is distributed over a bigger footprint. Think about it. So it has to be more disturbing. So I said, why are we the only thing we're limiting is weight? Why don't we also start looking at size and see if that happens? And of course, they're never really too happy with my suggestions, but they wrote it down. There were actually some people that were complaining in the Demarest Prescott area, because when you think about Teterboro Airport, there's actually two runways. The one that is used the most is 119, so everyone comes in on 119 for us. But there's this other one that's 624, and when weather conditions are a certain way, aircraft land there. And I guess our 8,900 is a little less than we usually see in the quarter, so I guess there was a little more activity in that area, so those folks were not too happy. So what I said to them, I think we should at least try to strive for an equal distribution. If there's three points of arrival here now, you can come in on 119, you can come in on 624, you can come in over Route 17. If we just distributed it evenly, there really wouldn't be a tremendous impact to anyone if we were smart and did that. And of course, if we used Route 17, we're really to maximize Route 17, it's really to the benefit of everyone, because you're flying over a low elevation where a lot of people are not residing, because there's not too many people that I can think of that actually live on Route 17. So I focused on those, and one additional thing that I've been working with, that Teterboro actually was working on, and I've been working with them as well, is trying to get, the issue is not really Teterboro, the folks that make the decision as to what path you will take is actually coming out of New York, TRACON, which are the flight control people that manage not only Teterboro, but Newark and LaGuardia and the surrounding airports. If they could designate that the recommended flight path for the day, for half a day, was the Route 17 flight path, that would pretty much ensure we get a decent amount of use. And according to Teterboro, when I talked to them, they said for them the quietest day at Teterboro Airport is Saturdays. So now our new initiative is, why won't the FAA have that be the designated route? Let's try it on a couple of Saturdays. Understand it has to be safe, weather has to be good, visibility has to be good, but perhaps, if folks use it, they'll see this is okay, right? It helps the environment, the folks that live here, and we were able to have successful flights. And Saturdays is a day where most folks are home from work and maybe want to enjoy their outdoor space. So we haven't been having a lot of progress, so Teterboro Airport agreed that they're going to write a letter to the FAA and ask for a few of these things, and also ask to support the Rutherford folks, and see if we can make any progress. So again, anyone who is interested enough to write to their congressman or write to their elected officials and say, hey, can we put some pressure to at least have the Route 17 flight path through the designated path on a Saturday, on a day that's not a lot of flight traffic, and give us an opportunity to enjoy our homes and to see how it goes. All right, one last thing is number of complaints. Remember last time, if you remember, I said we were kind of falling off the beaten path in registering complaints, but weather's getting good, people are outside, so our complaints are up again. This quarter, we had 1,224 complaints logged from Hackensack residents, but our buddies in Teterboro are beating us again. They had 1,663. So remember last year, we were beating them quarter after quarter. So we gotta get, they're all riled up now, they wanna win too. So make those calls, help us out, get the information, log into Teterboro, and continue to support us because I'm continuing to fight for Hackensack. Thanks, Vinnie, for giving me the floor.
Problem. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Before I open to the public, I just want to, and the gentleman ought to talk about his son is with us tonight, but ask zoning officer of ours, Alvarelli, is not doing well, he's in the hospital. I know he's battling, he's getting a little bit better, I understand, Frank?
Mhm.
So we're hoping, to get him home and back rehab and get back to his normal life. And so we'd appreciate any prayers for Alvarelli at this time. Thank you. Then need a motion to open to the public.
Offer.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia. Councilmember Carroll. Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
I don't remember the name.
Okay, anybody from the public would like to speak, please come forward. Give your name to the clerk, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Marty Smith, Prospect Avenue. Can you tell me if the council has set a date for the installation of the crosswalk on Prospect and Atlantic yet?
Okay.
Not yet, but it will happen. We'll get it.
Okay. Has anybody from the council contacted the county executive's office concerning the fact that county traffic did not reply to our questioning concerning the elimination of the merge points on Polyfly Road on Essex Street and also Summit Avenue on Essex Street?
Vince? I don't have anything on Polyfly in Essex, no. And, I know there was a study done in the past in order to put a left-hand turn signal there. I know what you're talking about with the merge points similar to Passaic and Prospect, correct? I know at that time it was turned down by the county, no left-hand turn, because they thought it would create a backup with the amount of traffic on that road, just having a one lane designated to turn. I know there was a discussion tonight on Polyfly Road about some of the issues you've been bringing up. We looked into having an engineering study done all the way from what street?
From Polyfly at Route 80 to Essex Street, Essex to the hospital.
Right.
And Essex down to State.
So all that ways, the whole Polyfly first. And our issue is, Mr. Smith, and you want to speak to this?
Sure. Like I told you, Mr. Smith, I was the council is taking, as well as myself, pedestrian safety along Polyfly, Essex, that whole thing very seriously. And I had a meeting with our engineers the week before last, specifically about the pedestrian crossings on Polyfly Road and some of them on Essex Street. I asked for a proposal to do a traffic study with recommendations. I received that proposal from Neglia, and it came in at approximately just over $50,000 to do that study. Now, with that being said, if the city spends that money on this study, that's a county road, Polyfly, and so is Essex Street. If we take this and say, we're gonna do this to the county, they can stop it, because it's their road. It's not our road. You understand what I'm saying? So we have some concerns now on spending, over $50,000 for a study, only to be told that you're not doing anything because it's not your road. So my next step is to reach out to the county and try and talk to them about this and say, look, if we spend this money, are you gonna listen to our recommendations? If you don't listen to the recommendations of our engineer, I don't know where we're gonna go from there.
Can anybody tell me who sets the fines for traffic violations in the city of Hackensack? Does each municipality have that authority to set their own level of fines?
Well, it depends on whether it's a municipal ordinance violation or a violation of a state motor vehicle law. If it's an ordinance, we can set a range of fines, but the municipal judge has the ultimate decision on what to do. So a fine can't be, I believe, more than $2,000 for an ordinance violation, and we can set, I believe, a minimum fine of $100, but within that range, it would be up to a municipal judge to determine what would be appropriate as the fine. So we.
So what you're saying is that currently there is no specific set amount for specific traffic violations by drivers.
Well, there's what's called a violations database, right? So if it's a state motor vehicle violation, say, you have, didn't buckle up and it's a state law, there is an actual dollar figure for that, right? So again, that's a state motor vehicle violations, listing of what that is. So there can be a standard, or depending on if it's a municipal ordinance violation, it may be within the discretion of the judge.
Okay. One other thing. Can you tell me if the city has installed any dedicated bicycle lanes yet?
No, we haven't. We did studies on, with all the redevelopment downtown, Main Street, State Street, because a lot of people came to us for bicycle paths. It's just that our street, especially Main Street, wasn't wide enough to maintain a bicycle path and parking at the same time. We would have to eliminate, in order to bicycle paths, we would have to eliminate parking on one side of the street, which would have been cost prohibitive to do that. State Street, we had thought of entertaining a bicycle path on State Street that could bring you all the way up to Passaic Street and all the way down past Essex Street. Something we could still look into.
Okay,
Those
thank
are the
you.
only place we've looked at bicycle paths.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, before you leave, just to add on to what the city manager said about the county roads, we already experienced this problem. We spent significant time and effort in asking and doing work on asking for crosswalks on River Street for the issues. We picked locations, we picked the type of patching we wanted, we did a lot of work and presented to the county, and they just said, no, we're not gonna do that. So we've already unfortunately been burnt with this once before, so it's what we talked about as a council is the smartest way to do that is to get the county to buy into it first. So, our advice is go to the freeholder meetings. This is their street, and just like you're coming here, you need to go there and plead your case. You do it very well. So that's, those are the folks that have the power to do that, and not us, unfortunately.
If it's their street, then they should pay for the studies.
They should do everything, because that means they're gonna follow through on it. We'd pay for the study if they would do it, but we've already been down that path and we got nowhere. So we're totally frustrated, as I'm sure you are.
Next person from the public, please.
I'm Rich Serbo, Spring Valley Avenue, and I just walked in on the talking about noise, and oh my goodness, all right. So, look, I just want to start by saying, we just had the recent coronation on television of King Charles III. It was so filled with pageantry and everything, but he was Prince Charles at one time. He was a prince at one time, okay. And when he visited New York, he was here for a while. It's not that long ago either. He visited the United States, spent time in New York, and while he was leaving, there was a big crowd out there of media, and they were asking him, Prince Charles, what did you think of the United States? Did you love? He says, oh yeah, it was fantastic, I loved it, but it is a noisy place, he said. And so I agree with Kathy on the whole noise thing, but it's not up in the air, it's on the ground, and let's get back to it. Spring Valley Avenue has vehicles that are weighing 35,000 pounds, and the street is posted that 4,000 pounds vehicles should only be on that street. So what are you talking about? How about, sort of policing that? Or forget the planes in the sky. This is the noisiest city in America, I think, I mean, you urbanized it so much. There's so much building vehicles, construction vehicles, and all kinds of noise. I just wanted to add that because I heard you talking about noise from airplanes. It's not the airplanes, okay? It's ridiculous. You can't even walk around this city on certain times of day. It's ridiculous. So get into it and find out what's happening and what's going on, okay? And like I said, those vehicles on Spring Valley Avenue weigh over 30,000 pounds, and the street is posted. So you're going to take down the sign, or are we going to police those vehicles? 4,000 pounds vehicles shouldn't be on, over 4,000 pounds shouldn't be on Spring Valley Avenue. And every minute, a 30,000 pound bus goes past. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Servo, just to address some of the things that you've been bringing up regarding Spring Valley Avenue.
Yeah.
It's a proven fact that the best way to calm, what they call traffic calming, is to calm traffic that's speeding, are speed tables, if you know what those are. Go ahead. Like speed bumps, but they're called speed tables because they're a little bit more. So what we had a discussion tonight about it, is we're gonna explore a pilot program on Spring Valley where we would install possible speed tables there to slow the traffic down on the street.
What about that, Richie? Are you okay or not?
I don't know. He prefaced it by saying it was a pilot program.
We're gonna try to see if it works.
Yeah, we're gonna try it and see if it works, if it slows everybody down.
Anything that's prefaced with a pilot program to it, I don't trust that, okay? So, whatever.
Not related to the pilot program.
Okay, all right. Well,
We're gonna give it a whirl,
okay.
not a pilot, okay?
Well, look, New Jersey Transit is now in bad shape. They're going out of business, and all these empty buses are going up and down Spring Valley Avenue, up and down Spring Valley Avenue, up and down Spring Valley Avenue. They're going out of business. They don't have any money, okay? There's nobody on the buses.
Okay.
Tell me what's going on, all right?
That I
I
can't.
think this is a good step in the right direction. I think,
So-
we've come up with something that
Right.
has been successful in many other towns. Like you're telling us, Englewood has it, Teaneck, I mean.
Fairmont.
New York.
Is there a temporary one you can put in?
You can,
Like a
but they
mat
don't
one?
safe.
Yeah, the temporary ones are not safe, like
Alright, so-
Leo said, but in the event that it doesn't work, it's not a major deal to jackhammer it out and just get rid of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's all it is, it's formed mechanic.
Right.
But
You
even
got another
if
machine
we wound up
box.
keeping it, let's just see if it helps.
think
I mean,
try
I'm
something,
never gonna
try
do them
something,
harm,
right.
let's see if it helps.
Yep.
And after they're in bid, you can give us a full report.
That's it. So
Anyone else from the public? We close to the public. Seeing none, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed? You want to say something?
No, I said, somebody else got another solution for the speeding, I live right there a block away from Spring Valley. I mean, always when I have to cross the street, I gotta look to the left, to the right, and people are flying.
Passaic Street is buses all day long, Passaic Street, down by, where we live at the bottom of the hill between Maywood Avenue and Summit, it's a highway during the daytime, it's crazy.
Richie, you're right, the streets and the city of Hackensack were not really built to support. You talk about 30,000 pounds, you got 18 wheelers, they weigh 90,000 pounds.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Okay, so the compound is breaking our pipes, the sewer lines and everything else. And
So
if you-
who originally posted that on Spring Valley Avenue.
Yeah, but you gotta remember that sometimes it's posted about 50, 60 years ago. So everything changed. So first of all, we have to try to slow down these people, no matter what we do. You got police officers on the street, you got the sign, you got speed reader, and they still, they don't slow down.
We had multiple police department, traffic details from the traffic division out on Spring Valley,
Yeah, I saw-
multiple times.
I saw.
And they were writing tickets and, and everything, but, as soon as police leave, it becomes the next
Did we do a
person's speed
questionnaire
limit.
on speed tables there before? Did we ever do a questionnaire in the neighborhood on Spring Valley?
I believe the traffic division did.
I remember us.
And, yeah, I don't know if it was Spring Valley or it was Fairmont, I wanna say it was Fairmont.
Right,
Um,
and they didn't want it.
and they didn't want it.
They don't want it when they call a stop sign, that was the guy from Lewis.
Right.
That was
Let's
the
give
guy.
it a try.
I think
Yeah.
let's try it, let it try, it's the only way to know.
It's the
No,
only
when
way
I
to
collect it, I do that.
Let's
When
give
I
it a
collect
try.
it, I do that. We don't should be waiting for somebody to get killed,
Right.
then to do something, we should be proactive, not react. Because
All right.
they're flying, and now in the summertime with the kids and the bicycles in the neighborhood, somebody gonna get killed.
All right. Steve, you got nothing, right? So I need a motion to close the executive session?
Okay.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to close the council of the whole?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. So we will be back in,
5 minutes.
10 minutes.
bye, everybody.